Valentina Shevchenko versus Taila Santos. This fight was razor thin. I'll just give it to you at the top. I had Valentina winning, but it was one of those fights where I said I had Valentina winning, but I expect the judges to give it to Taila Santos. I always decide after the fight who I think the judges are going for, and I thought they were going to give it to Taila Santos because she did have uh, overwhelming control in multiple rounds, in 3 different rounds. But Valentina Shevchenko, she not only did she take over the fight in the end, she really battled hard in those first 3 rounds when she was outpositioned and outgrappled. And, there was talk of her being outworked. I thought she was outworked takedown wise. She was, or maybe outmatched would be a better way to put it. Physically, Taila Santos was the better wrestler and scrambler, and she was more powerful, bigger, stronger, younger, fresher, whatever the fuck athlete. And she is. But Valentina Shevchenko is skilled everywhere, where, on the ground, even if somebody is, more athletic and very technically sound jiu-jitsu and wrestling-wise, you're not going to be able to dominate Valentina. She's takedownable, but she's not mountable. She's not like Yuri Prohashka, where she's going to be mounted like that. She's very sound jiu-jitsu-wise. She even used her guard effectively. But, you look at, the scoring. I think 2 judges, I got to look at the cards again, but I think 2 judges gave her round 2. That's from little things like the Go-Go Plata. And 1 judge gave her round 1. That was for those punches to the head, which, not to start making the case for Valentina, because that's not what this is. But I love when you see that, first of all. I love when you see that the fighter on the bottom, or, with his or her back taken in a very disadvantageous spot, just tries harder, plainly. We saw this, so there was a fight last year with Corey McKenna and Kay Hansen, I think, where Corey McKenna was out-wrestled, if not out-grappled, but she pounced on a few different moments. One of them in particular, I think round 2 or even 3, was her on the bottom, throwing a crazy amount of strikes while she was being out-grappled and trying harder to hurt her opponent, plainly, and that swayed the judges. And it won me like $17 too, so, it was awesome. But, yeah, that's what we saw with that scorecard anyway, the 49-46. Somebody gave Valentina round 1, and it was for those strikes, which they were very effective. When I was watching her throwing those punches while she had her back taken, go watch it again. It was very impressive. I mean, particularly impressive. How accurate she was and how hard they looked. And Taila Santos was content to control. I think she was smart to control, even though it may have cost her from not trying to make more of her dominant situation. But, as we saw with Glover Teixeira, sometimes you start going for shit, the arm bar and whatever the fuck, and before you know it, especially against a really good, technically sound fighter, you gave up your position. So she was right to just hold a body triangle and secure the round, I thought. Even though it didn't work out for her scoring-wise, I still think that was her best move. But you could also tell from the fact that she didn't throw a lot and didn't, she wasn't, it was kind of like a Damon Jackson versus Dan Argueta last week, where Damon Jackson was good enough to get that body triangle, but he wasn't good enough to flatten him out or even get the top position, get on top, where he could land effective strikes. He had brief moments like that, but really it was Dan Argueta kind of stuffing his back control and sitting on his ass, and it slowed the fight down, which led to some great talking with the corners. But that's what this was last night. Was Valentina was indomitable, even though she had a fucking body triangle locked on her. But still, she's not somebody you could put away, get down and start raining punches on. So Taila Santos didn't have one of those moments. She didn't have one dominant moment on the ground. And I think if she did, like with Aljo versus Petr Yan, we saw him with back control, and he took his opportunity in round 2, or I think it was, round 2. I know he had control in round 2 and 3, but One of them where he just started landing jackhammers and almost had Jan flattened out. It was very brief, didn't last long at all, but it was enough to give him the round. I think even the 10-8 was questionable because of sustained dominance, and also he was able to hurt Jan. Taila Santos had back control for a lot of time and top control, and she wasn't able to get anywhere close to a 10-8 in any round. And that led to just a tighter scorecard, a lot less room for error, and she was out hustled by Valentina Shevchenko. And in the end, Valentina did. They collided heads. Taila Santos' eye was smashed up, and then Valentina took over that fight. I'm not even saying it was because of the head clash. I thought Valentina was taking over anyway, but it didn't help, the head clash. And in the end, Valentina took over that fight, won the championship rounds. I think that's something that'll get lost in this whole, narrative here coming out of the fight, because Taila Santos was an incredible underdog, and she performed very well, exceeded everyone's expectations. So that's the story, no matter what. But still, it's one of those fights like Jones versus Gustafsson, where you can't overlook what Jones did in that fight, and that's what Valentina did in this fight. She scratched and clawed to make the close rounds close, and she took over and won the rounds where her opponent was started to fade. She won the championship rounds. So really close fight. Judging, I don't know. I feel like there's calls for better judges with every fucking event, and can't say I really disagree. I mean, there's some shitty scorecards going on lately, but I did think Valentina won. And Taila Santos, I don't know where she goes from here. She might get an immediate rematch for all I know. I don't think so, though. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see her with the title. I wouldn't have been surprised if we saw her with the title last night. So great performance from both fighters. Like I said, Taila Santos didn't make the most of those positions, but I still, if I was her coach or whatever, I would have advised her to do exactly what she did, because I thought judges would favor positional dominance, but they didn't give her every round in which she was positionally dominant, and that's due to the effort of Valentina. Great fight, not anywhere close to Glover versus Yuri in terms of excitement or legacy, but this will absolutely be remembered as one of the better fights in Valentina's reign, if not the best. That was very fucking close.